there's a petition on change.org.
Yeah.
Almost 6 million people have signed.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that. That's some incredible work.
Thank you. And can I say that when I started my role in all of this, I started 2 years ago. But Julius's family, and he has a best friend, Jimmy Lawson, who has been his best friend since the 6th grade, were Julius's constant support before all of the advocacy work really got started. And when I started this effort, this advocacy work that I've undertaken on his behalf, I said to God, if you do this, I promise to give you the glory, the honor, and the praise. And I want, in all ways that I'm able to speak about this, I try to honor that. And so when you see that 6 million person signature on a petition on change.org, I'm going to really tell you that this has been divine. It has been a lot of human work, don't get me wrong, but the ways in which Julius's story has unfolded, Viola Davis and her husband, Julius Tennant, they did not have to choose this man's story. There are stories all over this country about injustice and racism and this and that. They did not have to choose Julius's story. I believe it was divine that they chose him. And I believe that it's been a divine process to see how people have come to understand that there is a problem with a man named Julius Jones in Oklahoma. And so we went from having, 200,000 signatures on that petition just a couple months ago, and we would think we were doing something to, over in a very short amount of time, the numbers of people who now have an ear leaned in to who Julius is and his situation, 6 million people. It's divine, and I'm so grateful.
People like right there in Oklahoma City, Russell Westbrook, people like Blake Griffin, Trey Young. I mean, there's some pretty heavy hitters on this too who signed on.
Yeah, there are. And we've really, this has really taken a turn for us for this campaign when Kim Kardashian learned about Julius. So many of us know now that she's really gotten heavily involved in criminal justice reform work. And she got a hold of Julius's story and, started to really kind of amplify this on social media. And then Jason Flom, who's a CEO of Lava Records in New York, and Scott Butnick, who is the producer of the movie Just Mercy and the Hangover movies. The three of those folks got a hold of Julius and really developed a heart for his story and have helped bring in other influencers and really take this to the next level. And so, I'm really grateful that there are influencers and celebrities out there who understand their roles and responsibilities and have a consciousness to lean into heart matters and to really give issues like this the wings that they need in order to be elevated to where they need to go.
So, Cece Jones-Davis, let's walk through Julius's story and how this all began in the first place, if you would, please.
Absolutely. So 21 years ago, and it will be 21 years at the end of July, Julius Jones was a 19-year-old freshman at the University of Oklahoma. He had just graduated the top 10% of his high school class with, I believe, a grade point average of 3.9. He went to University of Oklahoma on an academic scholarship. He was a really good basketball player as well. The summer after his freshman year, he came home. He hooked up with some friends or some acquaintances from high school that he used to play basketball with. And as a result of connecting with those folks, before the end of the summer, he would find himself in some very, very hot water here in Oklahoma City. The gist of this story is that there was a man named Mr. Paul Howell, a white prominent businessman in the suburbs of Oklahoma, Edmond, Oklahoma, who unfortunately experienced a very horrific crime. He was killed in a carjacking gone wrong.
Mm.
Ultimately, what we believe is that the co-defendant and some other cohorts who were also police informants framed Julius for this particular crime. Julius's family says that Julius was home with them and that they saw the news flash across the TV that a man in Edmond had been killed. They can tell you that they were eating spaghetti and cornbread. They can tell you that they were playing Monopoly. They can tell you that that Julius was upset because his sister and brother had eaten the last of his cookies, and he was complaining to his mother about that. And then this news comes across the screen. And it's important for me to say that while I say all those amazing things about Julius, and they are all true, what is also true that the other side in this situation uses often is that he had, as a teenager, some run-ins with the police. But they were all for petty crimes. They were all for nonviolent crimes, and they were for issues that lots of youth go through in the criminal justice system very early on. But long story short, a couple of days after the murder, Julius was arrested and ultimately tried and convicted and sentenced to death for this crime. Now, the problems in his case as it's related to his trial, Julius had a really, really poor defense. And let me kind of explain a little bit of that to you. Julius and his family had hired him an attorney. And very shortly before the trial began, that attorney died suddenly. They did not have the money to hire another attorney, and the trial was coming up. And so public defenders were assigned to his case. These folks did not have any capital case experience. Nobody had death penalty case experience. And when, after the prosecution rested their case, the defense team literally stood up in court and said, "We rest." They did not present any evidence. Yes, they did not present anything. They did not present the alibi because they said that the family would not be credible. They did not present a photo of Julius Jones that was taken 9 days before the crime. Julius was picked up by the police 9 days before the crime for doing donuts or Willie's or whatever you call them in an empty parking lot. And instead of just giving him a citation, the cops decided to take him down to the station and book him and take his picture. There is a photo, and you can see that on the website justiceforjulius.com, that shows Julius Jones with very, very short hair, not enough hair to grab a haircut, very short. The eyewitness said, there was one eyewitness, and that was the sister of the victim, said this was an African-American man with a red bandana across his face, a skull cap on his head with at least a half an inch of hair hanging from underneath, like a braid or a dread. 9 days before that crime, you could not pinch a piece of hair off of Julius's head. And so if they had presented that photo, the court would have been able to see that Julius did not have enough hair at the time of the crime to be the perpetrator. But no evidence was presented. There were two individuals in jail at the same time that the co-defendant and Julius were in jail awaiting trial, who did not know each other, came independently forward without incentive to say, hey, there's a man in here named Christopher Jordan. One of them was his cellmate. There's a man named Christopher Jordan in prison here in jail, bragging about the fact that he framed Julius Jones, that he actually killed the man. Those men came forward, signed affidavits, but somehow the defense did not present their testimony in court. And so there are so many issues related to his defense that, I mean, it's horrible. And really, before I go forward, I want to invite people to visit justiceforjulius.com, and you can watch the docuseries that really sparked my passion around the situation here in Oklahoma. So you can see the things I'm talking about for yourself. So I invite you to go there, justiceforjulius.com. You know, Julius, at the time that he was charged with this crime, there was a prosecutor, the DA of Oklahoma County. His name was Cowboy. They called him Cowboy Bob Macy. Cowboy Bob Macy, I believe his reign was for about 21 years in Oklahoma County. He put about 54 people on death row. And over time, 33% of those cases had to be overturned. 1/3 of his cases were overturned out of 54 people. Now in 2016, Harvard Law School named him the second deadliest prosecutor in the United States. And so Oklahoma County, and then he retired because it came to light that there was a lot of misconduct in his office, and it was a big, horrible mess. But Julius's case was in the mix of that era, in that tough on crime era, on that time, in that era where if you commit a crime in a good neighborhood, then you're going up the river, no questions asked. So also I want to say about his trial, there was a white juror who came forward in 2017 to say that this case had really haunted her for some time. And what she says is that another white juror during the trial said, "This is a waste of our time. Let's just take this nigger to the back of the court and shoot him and get it over with." She told the court that information, but that juror remained on the jury, helped to convict Julius and helped to sentence him to death. So there are several instances. His family, jurors in his trial referred to Julius's family as their kind. Julius said when he was arrested for the crime that there was one point that the cops pulled over, got him out of the back seat, took his cuffs off, and said to him, "Run, nigger, I dare you." But he remembered the words of his father, that you never run, because that's what the police want you to do. They want to put you in a situation where they can shoot you. And so he did not run. But there's a lot of issues related to racial bias here in Julius's case. And I could really go on and on and on, but I really want to give people an opportunity to watch the docuseries. It's called The Last Defense, but you can see it at justiceforjulius.com.